Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jason. I am your cruise host, and welcome to All Access Pass. The gentlemen next to me really, truly need no introduction, but it is my job. So allow me to say their names. That's all we really need to do, and allow you to go as crazy as you think is they're deserving of. Ladies and gentlemen, the Beach Boys. Let's hear it for Mike Love and Bruce Johnston. I want to say first and foremost, guys, thank you so much for being a part of the Flower Power Cruise. This is it's a cool cruise, and it's about time we got you out here.
It's a lot of good vibrations going on.
I think that's about right. Yeah, yeah. Some of them are low-hanging fruit. We have a. What are you talking? Do you know what that means? Okay, then what are you booing? Pay attention. Now, you've done several other cruises with us. You've been on our 50s cruise, our malt shop cruise. A couple of times, as a matter of fact, twice. Twice,
yes,
right?
that is true. Yeah. We have. And they were fun.
And they are fun.
At the risk of being self-serving, I would say they were fun.
I'm just going to keep lobbing softballs, and you take them out of the park.
Well, no, the thing is, I could never make a living as a stand-up comedian. That's why I'm sitting down.
Sit-down comedian. We've got to have those. And you are joining us on the Malt Shop Cruise again for our 10th anniversary here near the end of the year.
In November.
November, yeah.
Be there or be square.
Mike Love told you, be there. Be there, my friends. Yeah. We do have some malt shoppers who do this cruise with us. Matter of fact, I know we got a lot of folks out here who've done the malt shop before. But I will say it is about time we got you on the Flower Power Cruise. This cruise is a lot of fun. It's a little feistier. Dare I say, it's a little younger in some regards from our 50s cruise. You're welcome. And the malt shoppers who are here are the young end of the malt shoppers. God bless you. Good for you guys.
Perfect.
When our guys called your guys and said, hey, come on out to the Flower Power Cruise, what'd you think?
Said, let's see, we'd have to go and be a couple of nights in St. Martin before getting on the ship. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
No, of course we love doing these things.
Had to sell you hard on it.
Yeah, not really. We're easy that way.
This is good. So if you don't mind, and I'm going to say this in a silly fashion, for those people that don't know, let's go all the way back to 1961. Is that the Beach Boys formed?
The first song on the radio from us was called Surfin'. That was 1961.
1961.
And it was only... Thank you for your compassion. It wasn't everywhere, though. It was only in a few places. There was a very small independent label called Candix. The guy even declared bankruptcy, so that we had to go to Capitol Records, which is part of EMI worldwide. And, that was where we came out with Surfin' Safari in 1962 and Surfin' USA in 63, and then Help Me Rhonda and I Get Around and Fun, and a bunch of songs.
It's hard to name when you have that many hits.
Well, no, but it's a really nice problem. Yeah.
There are worse problems to have, I suppose.
Bruce wrote a bigger hit than any of the ones that we ever made. He wrote I Write the Songs, this guy right here. Yeah. Can you believe that?
I got lucky.
All by himself, keeps all the royalties. No, and the only problem I have with it, he got a Grammy for it. The only problem I have with that is it's Barry Manilow's biggest hit, not ours. Yeah.
Actually, that's a great segue. How Bruce and I were talking backstage while you were going over the set list for tonight. How did Bruce said you called over and asked Bruce if he had anybody that could be in the band, and he said, "I'll do it."
Taking Glenn Campbell's place, who was taking Brian's place.
Yeah, and that
65.
Both of those are impossible people to take the place of. I mean,
right.
Glenn Campbell was the most amazingly talented guitarist and singer. And then Brian Wilson, what can I say, in terms of productions and arrangements and harmonies and stuff, the best. But so I asked Bruce, and they used to, along with his partner Terry Melcher, who produced Kokomo, which is our big hit.
Sure. And the Birds.
Anyway, they used to copy us.
That's right.
Yeah.
We had a band.
Had a group called the Ripcords, which we called The rip-offs.
Rip-offs. But those guys sang in a certain style. But as we tried to kind of, when I got out of college, I immediately got a job, and Terry did, at Columbia Records as producers. That's why he called me, because he knew I would know a lot of people.
Right.
But when we made Hey Little Cobra,
And
we were finally...
owed me money from Las Vegas.
That is true. We were trying to emulate the Beach Boys sound, so Hey Little Cobra actually sold 1 million copies. Kind of cool. But it's not the Beach Boys. And I tried to find, I called 10 people to come out and be on the road for 4 or 5 days with the band. I finally said, look, Mike, I'm free. I can come for the weekend. And that's how it all started. April 9th, 1965.
He's a keyboard player, so he played piano and keyboard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the job was to play bass. So we actually learned the bass basically overnight. And I went to see how he was doing in the room.
In Miami.
Was it in Miami? Yeah, it was Florida. And he had the TV in the bed. And I should have run right at that point in time.
That should have been your moment.
But I said, why do you have the TV in your bed? Because he was just practicing the bass to our songs. So he said, well, it was sick. Yeah, it wasn't working, so he put it in the bed.
Twin beds.
Interesting thought processes. Anyway.
You're right. That should have been your moment.
I would
go
have
back quite a
pre-fired
ways.
me myself.
That was 1965.
5.
Was it?
April 65.
Or 4?
5.
5. Okay, good.
So you were going to do one weekend in 19... This is a long weekend.
I had a job. I had a job. Should I tell the truth? Okay.
I'd love the truth.
Okay, this is a quick story. So back in the days, what was the Mustang on sale for? Like $2,400, right? So I was like 20, 21 years old, and I thought, God, if I could just make $250 a week, this would be cool. So anyway, one thing led to another, and I went out for 2 or 3 days, starting in New Orleans. I came back home. Carl said, come back out, Howard, it really sucked. So I took my vacation from Columbia Records. 2 weeks, and I went on tour. And at the end of the tour, Carl said, you have to meet us at our business manager's office, because we have to draw up a check. I said, okay. So I got down there, and he said, what would you like? I thought, $250. So I got a check for $3,000 and decided to be really cool and see what happened. I'm not kidding. That's how I got started.
Our manager was smoking it, I think.
Now, we were also talking backstage, Bruce, and you said very specifically, and most of us know this, Mike is a very humble man. He's not a braggart. So do me a favor. Tell them what you were telling me backstage about this man as a writer, comparing him to the West Coast writers and the East Coast writers.
Well, if you ever went to a Frank Sinatra show, he'd always name check the writers. It's all about the songs. It's always all about the songs. Great American Songbook. Look at Tony Bennett, 92. Fantastic. So they had a thing after all the Great American Songbook. All the songs were coming out of the Brill Building. Neil Sedaka, Carole King, Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil. And on the West Coast, the only songs that were consistent were the Brian Wilson, Mike Love songs. And these guys wrote it all. And I'm always about the songwriting. I've been blessed to have been in formative years to be in this band watching Mike and Brian write. Brian was really excited about this track, California Girls. Mike, you got to go write words. So he went out of the studio into the hallway of Western Recorders, and I watched him like a runaway fax machine write the words of California
Well, East
Girls.
Coast girls are hip, etc.
Seriously, it's all about what Mike and Brian did, and here I am, lucky man.
Staying in that same relative time frame, the early time frame, what was the moment when you, as the Beach Boys, Mike, when did you recognize you were no longer a garage band, but you were actually making it?
We were in Minnesota at a place called, what's that lake there? Lake Minnetonka. Yeah, that's right. Minnesota. And we were at a little ballroom there, and we had 4 sets. That time of our career, we would have a station wagon pulling a U-Haul with all our equipment in it. This is before we found out about roadies.
Back when you had to do it yourself.
Now we have an amazing crew that goes in and sets everything up. We barely have to show up for sound check to make sure everything's working properly. But back then we did all the lifting and everything. But after the second set, we went out to take a break. And the cars were lined up for over a mile. It had been sold out, and they were breaking windows to get in. And I looked down the road and I said, this must have been what it was like when Elvis was starting out.
Probably.
Because it was just phenomenal. It was just,
Sure.
I mean, we weren't used to that. We were very, very new on tour. And yeah, so that was the first time I thought something special might be happening. Yeah.
Minnesota.
That's right.
That's excellent.
The Heartland.
The Heartland. Anybody out there from Minnesota in the live audience? Yeah. All right. 2 or 3. Not bad. Not bad.
You know, the one great thing in the early days, when a kid is really cute and they do great stuff, and then you praise them and do stuff, and, oh, you're so cute, fantastic. And then later on they go, maybe if I'm cute, it'll be cool. Well, this is the period where the band just organically let all this stuff come out. And these songs are amazing. And my favorite ever in the whole world, Beach Boy recording before me, my favorite ever, you have to listen to it. It's called The Warmth of the Sun. Perfection. Brian and Mike wrote it.
If you don't mind, actually, since both of you are such highly regarded and proficient writers, what is the writing process? Do you like to have music first and then write lyrics? Do you just write songs and then hope to find music to it?
For me, it works either way. If somebody has a great track or melody done, but no words, that's as often was the case with my cousin Brian. He was so prolific in the studio with the tracks, but he was his forte was working with the musicians and working out the chord progressions and arrangements and all that. And so nobody was better at it on a spontaneous level in the studio with the best musicians, not us, but the Wrecking Crew, as people know of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hal Blaine, who just passed away, he was one of the nicest guys ever. We met Glenn Campbell doing recordings and stuff, and he played on several of our records.
I think you should explain how you wrote Good Vibrations with Brian. This is a pretty cool story.
Well, Brian did Good Vibrations in different studios for over a 6 months period, and so I never bothered much about the lyrics. So then finally we had the composite of these recordings, which became the track to Good Vibrations, the #1 song. And but I hadn't written the lyrics. So on the way to the studio, I was driving, and I dictated the words to my ex-wife, Suzanne, on the way to the studio. I said, I love the colorful clothes she wears. So I'm dictating it. And for me, the Good Vibrations was the period of time when it was the epicenter of flower power, right? Peace and love and all the things that were going on in California. And I wrote it from the perspective of a girl who was very into peace and love and all good things, So that was the inspiration for the lyrics. And so I wrote all the lyrics on the way to the studio, and I came up with I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I came up with a chorus, which was inspired by the bass part, which went dum 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 dum. Brilliant track. So that in that case, that track was the inspiration, along with the concept and the day and the time, for the recording of Good Vibrations.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Bruce,
Nice.
as a writer? Yeah, absolutely. How about you as a writer, Bruce? How do you prefer to write? What's your preferred method?
First of all, I love songs. I can't believe Tony Bennett is out there selling out, doing the Great American Songbook, and Mike and Brian are of the Brill Building, which is a building in New York full of publishers and writers, Carole King, Neil Sedaka.
Neil Diamond started out there.
Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil. So it's all about the songs. So I thought, it's $250 a show. Back in the day for me, I thought, And I'm hanging out with two guys that are just, writing amazing songs. And I just thought, this is pretty fertile ground for me to be in, making a little dough, more than I made at Columbia Records, and watching these brilliant guys who don't know they're brilliant. That was the cool part. Just blow my mind, So I could never catch up with Mike. Mike and Brian probably deserve about 10 Grammys, to tell you the truth. But I'm just a lucky guy to have gotten one away, from being in their shadow.
Oh, you're very humble, sir. You're very, very humble.
No, I'm being truthful.
Um, Really, in the '60s, most people will say it was the Beatles and the Beach Boys in the Flower Power era.
The Who?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
No, the Beatles. No, the Beatles. The Who were good though.
Whom? The Whom?
Yeah. Who's on first?
Keith Moon's dream was to join the Beach Boys.
He
just
so
so you know.
wrote us a letter. Can I be your drummer? Yeah.
Seriously,
We already had one, Dennis Wilson.
great drummer.
We already had one. I love that. Where I was going with that was, you were one of the very few bands to have had success before, during, and after the British invasion. What do you accredit that success to? Why were you guys resonating so well with your fans? Why did you survive that?
Well, I think we just typified a lot of what was going on in America, particularly from a West Coast perspective. We loved our beach. How do you get there? In a car. So we did songs about surfing in a car in our school. School is a big deal.
It's funny how simple it can be, right? Yeah.
So, just those things gave us real life experience, and we put them into these little songs that resonated with a lot of people. In fact, Surfing USA was a big deal internationally, which is pretty amazing. It was big in South Africa and Australia and the Philippines and Japan and Norway, Sweden, Denmark, all over. And we're going back 50 years to the day from being in Czechoslovakia 6 months after the Russians invaded Czechoslovakia and threw out their leader. His name was Dubček. We did a show in an auditorium there 50 years ago this year. And when we flew in, there were Russian jets on one side of the runway and tanks on the other side. And it was the most intimidating landing you ever experienced. It was amazing. But our music meant something to them because we represented America, rock and roll, and relatively freedom. So that's pretty amazing, I think. Some real special highlights of not only being well regarded in the U.S. and Great Britain, where in 1966, Good Vibrations, we were voted the #1 group in England, #2 being the Beatles.
True.
What are you going to do,
When you see the show tonight, you'll see a press clipping about that. I have one question. Do we consider, we're a little older than you guys, but no, we really are. We've been around a long time. And do you guys consider the Byrds kind of in the flower power area at all?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to tell you something really cool, how the Beach Boys fit into the Byrds. So when I was working at Columbia Records before being in this band, Terry calls me up. He says, come downstairs, I'm doing an audition to tape. So it was Crosby and McGuinn and maybe Gene Clark. They sang in 1 and 5s, like in Gregorian chant kind of ways with vocally. So when the band got signed, Terry's recording the track. It's a Tambourine Man. And he's using part of the Wrecking Crew on the song. And I was there. And here's Beach Boys influencing the Byrds, where it goes, hey, Mr. Tambourine Man. It takes Brian's figure from Don't Worry Baby. Junk, 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 junk. So all the way through the Byrds record, because of Terry's love for the Beach Boys, he just threw the Beach Boys' success right into Tambourine Man, just so you know.
Yeah. Pay me.
Como?
Yeah. I'm sorry, your mic was off, Mike. I think. Now, yeah, inside. There you go. We were chatting backstage. You guys still do a lot of dates.
We do.
We do
Tell us a little bit about what it's
30 dates a year, probably.
We used to do more dates in the 60s, though.
No, that's
No,
dating.
I meant-
dating.
oh, you
Mike.
mean-
Dating.
You mean musical occasions?
Musical gigs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, musical gigs.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Oh, that's what you meant. No, we do. We do we like doing what we do, and we like going everywhere, places big and small and all around the world. And so we're going to be, 6 weeks or so in
Europe.
In Europe, starting in June.
We do 150 concerts, 170, really.
Yeah.
150 plus
A
concerts.
couple of years ago, we did 180, but I think we were out of our minds to do that many. But
Well, yeah, there's only 52
we
weeks
weren't out of
a year.
money.
I mean, that's...
it was good, though. It was great because, first of all, in my case, I came from a family that had a grand piano and organ and a harp in the living room. My mom was unbelievably into music. And so it was a family hobby that turned into a profession because my cousin Brian and I worked really well together in the studio and came up with some great songs. So we've been very blessed and very fortunate to take a hobby and make it into a long-lasting profession. So we're very blessed that way.
I would say I think we're all blessed in that way, that you turned a hobby into a profession. Now, out of all the artists you've influenced, out of all the artists you've played with, out of all the artists you came in contact with, who influenced you? Who influenced you guys?
For me, it was Chuck Berry, the Everly Brothers, the Four Freshmen, and all the doo-wop songs.
The doo-wop guys, yeah.
Doo-wop, great stuff. All the harmonies, the bass parts, the high parts, the lead. That was what doo-wop was all about, and we love that stuff. I love doing the bass parts and those kind of songs. So it was a synthesis of all those influences combined with the concepts and lyrics and the songs that we created and sort of encapsulated the vignettes that were going on in everyday life in Southern California to begin with. And then we got a little more experience along the ways. We did an album called Pet Sounds, which is a bit more introspective, So,
66.
But Good Vibrations was like, for its time, was very avant-garde. In fact, I always say it's still avant-garde. It's so unique, and it's a great song. And I, was very fortunate to be able to compliment my cousin Brian's brilliance by, offering up the words.
The lyrics, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys still buy CDs or anything, or send away to Amazon for stuff? Well, we had this call from Capitol Records, and they said, we want to take 17 of your songs, and we want to lift the vocals off to vocal stems. And we're thinking, and what's next? And we want to take it to Abbey Road, and we want to make a couple new tracks, and I'm thinking, But what their overall thing was to take the original vocals, like Natalie Cole and Nat King Cole, for when they sang together. But they didn't want to make duets. They wanted to take our original vocals, and they wanted to very discreetly sprinkle in the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And so it was #1 in classical charts in August of the last year. It's an album you might want to have. But it's the original recordings, but it's just maybe a little black tie on it. You might like it.
Yeah.
Made for black tie.
Beach Boys with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
I like that. And speaking along those same lines, out of the artists you had the ability to work with or work alongside, who are some of your favorite artists that you've performed with along the way?
Wow. We performed with a lot of...
Annette.
Well, yeah. The thing is, when was it when we did the Hollywood Bowl something? We did a Hollywood Bowl show where we had Neil Diamond, Sonny and Cher.
It was 65 or 66.
Sir Douglas Quintet, Sam and the Sham and the Pharaohs. It was an amazing show. All these acts, and nobody made any real money then. I mean, the tickets might have been $5, maybe $7.50.
Oh my, yeah. Markup.
But anyway, so those people, I remember paying Neil Diamond $750. That was a lot of money.
Why were you paying Neil Diamond?
Well,
Dare I even ask that question?
He was on the show.
We were promoting the show, and he had a couple of great songs going on, But we started back then touring with all these people. We backed up Dee Dee Sharp doing the mashed potatoes in Hawaii once.
In 63.
Remember that? We played with
The roller rink.
What's that?
The roller, what do you call it when the
Roller rink, roller derby, roller.
Roller derby, you know, when
Derby.
girls beat the crap out of each other. That one.
That feels like a good place for Beach Boys music. Yeah.
Civic
Well,
Auditorium.
Okay, for instance, we were in Australia and Roy Orbison was on the show. I mean, you know, come on. That was pretty amazing. You know, we did the Tammy show early on, before Bruce joined us, and met Marvin Gaye and, you know.
James Brown.
He was amazing. We were friendly with him. We did some touring in Great Britain together, and so we did a lot of interesting stuff with the Dick Clark tours and all that kind of stuff. We go way back.
And dare I ask, what about, are there any musicians relatively current, even, you know, going back a few years, that you listen to, that you've enjoyed, that you think has got something special or unique?
Yeah, the Beach Boys.
Yeah, those guys are good.
Wait a minute,
I mean,
Bruno
come on.
Mars. Come on,
People
Bruno
ask
Mars.
that you ask that they ask that
Yeah.
of us all the time. But what do you listen to? I turn on 60s on 6 if it's serious, because I have a vested interest in serious. You know, last summer we had a 24-hour-a-day Beach Boy channel.
Yeah.
It was pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Almost 4 months.
But yeah, but there are a lot of people we really like. I mean, both new and old. I mean,
Sure.
you know, we love songs, as Bruce was talking about. Songs are very important.
Song.
So if somebody has, like my daughter, who's 23, for many years she's been bugging me. She said, "Listen to this song, Dad," and it's a rap song. And I say, well, first of all, it's not a song. So you have to understand. Her name is Amba. She's an amazing singer. She sang with us on our Unleash the Love album, came out a little over a year ago. And she sounds beautiful. She does the lead on Warmth of the Sun. She does another song of ours called Kiss Me Baby. And she sings perfectly and perfect rhythm and everything. But she'll go into like house music, and it's just, I can't understand it. and rap and hip hop and all that kind of stuff. But there are some, you know, decent singers in that area of the world.
Do you find a touch of irony in it, in that Good Vibration was avant-garde and ahead of its time, and there's undoubtedly a generation that went, ooh, what is this music?
Yeah, and also it's in that new movie, Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty far out. How many years later, right?
Yeah.
66 and whatever it is. That's 53, isn't it?
Yeah.
53
When I heard
years
the
later.
mix of Good Vibrations, what did I tell you?
Pardon me?
When I heard the final mix of Good Vibrations, you know, my A&R year, my production year, right? I kind of went, well, this is either number one or the career's over.
Take the shot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Bruce,
sir.
specifically, Christine from Princeton, New Jersey, begged me to ask you, The Nearest Faraway Place is a beautiful song. Please tell us about writing this.
Well, I mean, we weren't so heavy and hip and worried about being cool, so I snuck one in. You know, there's no words, instrumental. I mean, it's nice. It's like music kind of thing, but it's cool. I'm not putting it down, but I don't think it really fits. But I'm glad that it was there.
She also wants you to know that she and her husband danced to Disney Girls at their wedding 44 years ago. So,
Well, our Disney Girls recording, this song's never been a hit, and it's really been in a lot of albums, lucky me. And people like it, and it's in our Beach Boys with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
They did a beautiful job on the
Pretty
orchestration
different.
for that song. It's really
You know,
pretty.
so I got really lucky. People come up to me all the time. Mr. Johnston. I go, oh no, is my father here? So we just got married, and we danced. Our first wedding dance was God Only Knows. And I go, that's incredible. But I'm really thinking, really? You just got married? I may not always love you. It blows my mind every time.
Kathy, who comes all the way from Washington, D.C., wants to know, when you're not doing this, what do you do for fun? Fun.
I iron.
Tell her, don't worry, baby, we're not going to kiss and tell. No, we have time off. Sometimes we record. In fact, some of us are going to be recording when we get back in about a week's time to our homes and stuff.
We have a life.
So we keep actively writing and recording. Yeah, sometimes, on like in Christmas period of time, if we're off, which is a nice thing to be, we'll go different places. I mean, we've done Christmas with my family in Bali, Mexico, all kinds of different places. So it's
Is there any place you guys have not toured that you would like to?
Russia, China,
Yeah.
Russia.
And China.
yeah, we've never been to the USSR, so we can't do back in the USSR.
Oh. Can I say something? So, you guys, I want to thank you for something really cool, and probably Mike, for Mike too. Because you support us, I was able to have my 4 boys go to college and get through grad school because of you guys. Seriously.
And out of all the places you have toured, did any place catch you off guard with how avid the fans were?
Japan.
It's funny, a lot of bands say Japan.
Well,
a lot
the
of
thing
bands.
is, English is not their first language, and we will start a song like California Girls, dun, 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 and they go, ah! The whole audience will react, and they're very appreciative and very avid. But we used to go there in the early 60s, and they called it eleki gita, electric guitar, eleki gita. So, and I'd gone to school with some kids of Japanese descent. In fact, they were in internment camps during World War II in Southern California, the kids my age. And so, because I was born in 41, and so any of the kids my age that I went to school with, if they were Japanese, they were displaced. A little bit of federal paranoia there, I think. But at any rate, I learned some Japanese from them, like to count, this and that, and all these little phrases and sayings and stuff. So that was interesting, an interesting cultural experience. So when I got to Japan, I would talk to some of the fans, and they would re-educate me on things, And so I always found different cultures and languages and parts of the world really interesting. The architecture, the cuisine, the languages and stuff. It's been a real blessing for us to go around and see different parts of the world. But the neatest thing is, who would have thought that our songs would be popular in Germany or Sweden or Denmark? I figured out why in Scandinavia, because surfing is very close to surpen, which means drinking.
It's all about the alliteration.
And my mormor, my grandmother, was my mother's mother. My grandmother was svenska. She was Swedish. So I had some,
You have some relation there.
The Germans loved us. If we sang Bar Band 45 times in a row, they'd be fine with that. I'm not kidding.
Just one concert of all, Barbara.
I remember doing Help Me Rhonda in Vienna, in the Wien Stadthall, and it was like the Teutonic beat. You could hear it. I mean, it was amazing.
And Peter and Gordon.
That's right.
Were on that show. That was like 1966 or 67. And I know Peter's here tonight.
And it wasn't Peter Noon either. It was never mind.
We've already been teasing him about this week.
Peter Asher.
That's
actually,
right.
funny you should mention Help Me Rhonda. Rhonda from Miami said, "Who was your Rhonda?"
I'm sorry to break her heart, but it was a fiction.
It was a guy.
It was
Ronald. Ronald. It was Help Me Ronald originally, and Rhonda felt better. Yeah.
That was bad. That was bad.
Interesting question. Tom from Tucson, since both of you guys are prolific writers and recorders, how has the digital revolution in music affected the process for you?
Wow. That's a good question. I kind of, from the school of, you make a song and then you play it for the radio station, see if they like it, and if they do, it may well become a hit. Now, who knows? It's like you could do a record in your bedroom on the computer and then put it out online, and you could become known internationally.
It's like it's all
without
about
even
the
leaving,
bass,
without leaving your house. So I don't know. It's a different world,
Do you think that has, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way towards newer artists, but do you think the lack of effort that it takes has changed the artist you get? I mean, are we going to have a lot of these artists, do they have longevity?
There's no
anymore?
free ride. Those artists are working their butts off too to get out
many
there
of
any
them
way
are,
they
of
can.
course.
They really are.
It's just the YouTube aspect, to Mike's point, that you can put out a song from your bedroom and get 70 million views overnight. You know, it's...
Well, wait a second. Mrs. Brown, you have a lovely daughter. Peter Noon, the Herman Sermitz, the first recordings were done standing, they were like, they had a Revox recorder, one mic, and they were standing around in a circle playing live, and Peter was singing, Mrs. Brown, you have a lovely daughter. You know, so it just starts the way it starts.
It's just a change of the times, same idea.
Yes, but it's, you know, young people who don't know any better, and it's perfect.
The major difference, I think, is the record companies used to invest a lot of money in those acts they thought had a lot of potential or had proven already to have potential. Like ourselves, they put money behind us, and the same thing with the Beatles, and, you know. Nowadays, the record companies aren't as well funded. And so it's a little, I think it's a little more challenging in some ways to make a name for yourself.
That's a different take, yeah.
When
But
I was,
it's supplanted by, or they have the whole, what do you call it, the media kind of.
Social media?
Social media, yes, exactly. There's all that didn't exist when we were coming up.
but you got to start the way you start, and people have the counterpoint to the way we started. When I was getting in the music business, or right before, you know, in high school, I would try and have bands, and so I would sound like someone on the radio, so I'd meet girls. But when I had my first little gig,
And buy a Mustang.
no, and this is cool. When I had my first little gig, I used to back up Richie Valens when he had just come on, Let's Go. And he would go to his manager's house and make the demo on a little Ampex little recorder that also Jan Berry had the same recorder in his garage. And then they go to Gold Star and they made tracks. But you do anything to just get it started. You know, even La Bamba was started on a little recorder. So now we have these digital guys doing stuff. They probably, oh my gosh, I only have 16 tracks. Well, Brian had 4. So it just starts the way it starts.
Now, I know we got to get you back into sound check for our shows tonight. Are there any words you'd like to share with the...
That's tonight?
Yeah, you got a show tonight. You thought that whole coming to St. Martin thing was just a vacation, I know, but we got some
Barbados
shows
rum,
tonight.
for God's
Anything you want these fine folks to know before they come to your shows this evening?
We have some surprise guest artists whose brother happens to play drums with us, joining us for a song.
I like it. Allow me to say truly on behalf of everyone in this audience and everyone watching on TV right now, thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this. We truly appreciate it. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this Q&A. I know you guys are really busy, and we really, really appreciate it.
Flower Power, Malt Shop. Keep calling us
Ladies and
back.
gentlemen, please help me thanking Mike Love and Bruce Johnston. Let's give it up for the Beach Boys.
All right.
You.
Thank you so much, my friends, for tuning in. I'm your cruise host, Jason. Have a great day. We'll see you out and about.
See you later.